The button has been pressed. Hello, haters. Why am I so happy? My vlog on Sudan has gained, are you ready? 95,000 views. That's like crazy. It's close to 100,000 views, and I keep receiving comments every day, and some people were like, why aren't you posting anymore? So Sudanese people, kudos to you. Big hug. Okay, do you feel my good energy? I'm sending it to you. Okay, one day visiting Sudan again, I promise.
كلنا سوا في صفقة سوا سوا ورقصة سوا.
In this vlog, I don't know why I'm pointing, I'm going to reveal a family secret, so keep watching. My family just visited me here in Madrid. I originally come from Russia. Ooh, it's so windy and cold, just like in Russia. It has always been my dream to bring my grandparents here. My grandmother has only been abroad once while visiting me while I lived in England, and my grandfather has never been abroad. My granny is 69, my granddad is 79. So you can imagine how special it is. I was over the moon about their arrival, but also super nervous.
Вон они, для мамы видео снимаю. Как летели?
I don't think I lived with my grandparents since I was like 11 years old, and I'm 26 now. Spending 2 weeks 24/7 with your family, you know, it can also be challenging. I'm not gonna just portray rainbows and unicorns for you. A very special moment was when I took my grandpa to the football match. Here in Spain, football is like a religion. If you say that you don't like football, oh jamón ibérico, nobody will be friends with you. But for my grandfather, it has always been his favorite thing. As long as I can remember myself, since I was a kid, he was watching football games non-stop. He's supporting Rostov, as the team from our hometown, which has always been like the weakest team. I always feel bad when my grandpa is super upset. Lokomotiv Moscow is playing against Atletico Madrid. That was the game where I want to take my grandpa to.
Атлетика, Локомотив. Ты знаешь, какие цвета у локомотива?
Да, ну и они же договариваются будут о форме.
Не,
Они
ну
же в
обычно
гостях.
они красно-зеленые же. Какой красивый закат. Куча людей.
Посмотри, нам куда идти, в какой
Сейчас
сектор.
смотрим.
I know like zero information about the football. I remember one of my first football matches, I went with a friend who told me that the opposing team was my team, and it became really confusing because like half of the match I was cheering for the wrong team that was winning, by the way, and then you can imagine how upset I became that I was cheering for the wrong team. And I was also mad at my friend. I know you're watching this, so it's your fault. But jokes aside, it was very special to see happiness in the eyes of my grandpa, to see how excited he was. We think that we have nothing in common with our grandparents, but what I realized during their stay is that in fact it's so cool when you start asking them different questions. For example, they told me a lot of stories about them being young, about how they met. All you have to do is just to ask questions, and sometimes you would hear some stories that otherwise would never come up. Finally, there is some sun in Spain. When my grandparents arrived, one of the biggest letdowns was constant rain. I told them, hey guys, come to Spain, it's like the warmest place in the world. And they actually canceled the trip which they planned to make in January, just because they said, oh no, it's gonna rain so much, we don't want to make it, you know, we don't want to take chances. March is the best month to come and visit you because it's gonna be super sunny and warm. And here they come, and from day 1 to day 15, yes, they stayed for 15 days, it was raining like non-stop, every day. I'm not exaggerating. People in Spain tend to freak out about the rain. I remember when I arrived here, it was raining maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes a day, and everybody was like, oh my god, let's shut down the schools, universities, everything, because it's raining. No big drama. But this time, it was actually raining a lot.
Дед, как тебе радуга? Смотри, какая красивая.
Класс.
Прикольно. Вышли на солнце порадоваться. Дождь продолжает идти, ну хотя бы вот такой вот вид.
The best part about your family visiting you is that you do feel that somebody cares for you, somebody loves you. When I woke up and my grandmother would make pancakes every morning, and I told her, please keep sleeping, you know, I can get ready for work by myself. But just because she cares, she would still wake up and we would have a nice breakfast together. And moments like this I really appreciate, and that's when I feel jealous about people who have their family constantly close to them.
Видишь что-то, нет?
Да, дом вижу.
Любимый мой Мадрид. Во всей красе. И вон дед еще второй раз пошел смотреть. Что там, видишь?
Я и так хорошо вижу.
Дед рассматривает. Вот это здание красивое, да?
When I go home to Russia, I sometimes feel guilty. But on the other hand, I know that it's not just about career, but life-wise, Spain is the right place for me. I feel happy here. And in Russia, unfortunately, at the moment, there is nothing that I can do. The hardest part about my grandparents visiting was the fact that, you know, they have their routine and I have mine. And when two different worlds come together, I certainly have to respect what they want and what they like, and I have to be the entertainer. I created like a huge list of things that I thought we should do. It's like a must-have, and I'm pretty stubborn and pretty determined, and I was like, okay, we're doing all of this.
Пробуют шоколад с чуррос. Испанский десерт.
And of course for them it was like, first of all, we don't want to do this. Second of all, like their speeds are a bit different from mine.
Какие-то тренажеры мы нашли. Вон, дед крутит тренажеры.
I haven't watched TV for so long. I'm so used to doing everything online, just browsing the films that I want, the information that I need. So I even bought a special cable for my grandparents to be able to broadcast Russian TV for them. And that was hard for me. It was traumatizing because I can't watch Russian TV anymore. It annoys me so much. But I really tried to reach the compromise, and you know, we watched This Is Us, the series that I really love, about family values, and I'm so glad that, you know, they binge watched all of the series with me.
Нравится?
Да.
Вот такая вот красота. И Человек-паук.
Spinner, let's go. And another one.
Very nice.
And
Perfecto.
one like this. One fly. And one with this
Perfecto.
criminal. Give me a- I need you. This with you? What's your name?
Константин.
Y otro.
None of my family members traveled much in the past, and I am the wild creature of the family. I am a free spirit. I like to move constantly, and Spain is my sixth country to live in. So my family is always like, oh my god, you're crazy, you were adopted or something. You're not one of us. Even though my mom, in the past few years, she has become much more active. She started looking for the trips and like planning things by herself, and I'm very proud of her because of that. I'm just very proud of my mom, let's just put it simple, not just because of that, okay? I think the most special part for me was the fact that I could share part of my life with them. So now that I'm speaking of Spain, about the house where I'm based, they actually don't have to wonder where I'm going, about the shops that I'm visiting, about the friends that I'm hanging out with. They have much more concrete ideas now. Even though I miss my family and living abroad is hard, I don't think I ever regretted my choice. And when my grandparents visited me, the hardest part was to say goodbye. A couple of days ago they left. I was a total crybaby in the airport. Maybe I should be leaving home. Why do I always have to search for something that I don't even know what I'm searching for? You know, that's the problem. Constant one. I made my choices. There is so much joy about living abroad, And at some point I even thought that, you know, some moments that I had with my grandparents here in Spain, I don't think I would have ever had them in Russia, just because different environment, me being guide for them, me helping them, me taking them to places, it just felt different, and we had kind of a different ambience.
Нравится? Да. Идем сейчас смотреть Хрустальный замок. Вот на лодочке посмотрели. Солнышко сегодня выглянуло, так что собака даже.
If you are living abroad just like me and you have any fears or concerns or doubts about your family visiting you, just don't. Think about it in simpler terms. I had so many fears and so many concerns about my grandparents visiting me, but then it's just 2 plane tickets that separated us from one another. Everything's possible, and if you put enough energy into something, enough persuasion into telling your grandparents that it's not scary to come here, things will happen. I know that some people watching this might say it's money concerns, it's different family circumstances. I know about that, but at the same time, it's just excuses that we make for ourselves. When we want something to happen, it will happen. When you and your family, whether it's traveling together or them visiting you in a new environment, I think it's a very special moment just because it's very different. You would have different conversations. Some of the moments that you shared abroad, like they would be always remembered in your head. Trust me. For example, when I lived in Armenia, my dad visited me there, and it was a really, really fun trip. And my dad and me, we still remember those moments. Like very special bond between us happened during that trip. And I think that's something that could have only happened in a different country, as weird as it sounds. When I come home to my city, Rostov-on-Don, my dad picks me up from the airport sometimes, and he drives the car and he looks at me and he kind of tells me, you know, it felt like you never left this city. You've been away for what, 6 months, 8 months, sometimes a year, and I just feel like you've been around all this time, maybe a few blocks away from me. And I'm like, Dad, I've been far away. I've been living like on another side of the world, and you're saying this. But I also know what he means. I feel like sometimes we don't appreciate people when they're super close to us. Like we have to go far away, and then they come to visit you, and you're like, oh my God, this is my family. I just want to go home. I don't need to live abroad. And those were the emotions and thoughts that crossed my mind a couple of times. I'm not going to lie. It's time for a family secret. Are you ready? Me and my granny, we have this little thing. She doesn't really understand how the technologies work, but she envisions the internet to be this place where you can find different people. And of course she's right, because with social media nowadays, you can put any name in Google and sometimes people would come up, and sometimes it's people who you haven't seen for 10 or 20 years, which is completely crazy. My grandfather has a son. That's something I found out when I was maybe 11 years old. I was just browsing his passport and looking at the page and was like, oh, this is a nice picture. Oh, this is cool. Oh, this is the name of my mom, because in Russian passports, you can put name of your kids. So it's like a must-have. And then there is some weird guy's name. And I'm like, who is this? I don't know this person. Is this a joke? Like, it must be a mistake. And so I ran to my grandpa. And I remember back then my family didn't tell me anything. They just told me to go to sleep. But years ago, of course, I found out that my grandfather really has a son. Unfortunately, they don't keep in touch. He divorced his ex-wife, and since then they were never in touch, sadly. But the idea that I might have a relative, that my mom has a brother, has been haunting me since then. And so my grandmother doesn't mind for me to search for this guy. And every time we just start this crazy search, I start messaging billions of different people with the same name. But so far it has never been a success. So my grandmother tells me, we have these relatives, we haven't been in touch with them for about 10 years, but how about you go and search for their son? And I say, okay, that sounds interesting. I find the guy and I'm like, oh cool, that's nice. And then I see that we have a friend in common. The friend in common is a girl called Masha. We met at this international youth conference about 5 years ago, and I really liked her immediately. She's a really nice, cool person. We were messaging a couple of times, and then, this is the family secret time, and then I see that Masha is this guy's sister, which means that she's also my relative, which is crazy. After we tried to follow with this whole chain of relatives, we realized that me and Masha are relatives. She is my something aunt. It's a very long chain. Basically, my and Masha's great-grandmothers were sisters. So I messaged Masha and I'm like, can you believe it? We're relatives, girl, and we didn't even know that. And she told her parents and they were like, of course we know her grandparents. We haven't seen them for so long, but we remember how well her grandmother cooks, and that's true, my grandmother is the best cook ever. The world is small like that. Sometimes you can be meeting a person and you wouldn't know that it's your relative. Because of this butterfly effect, because of my grandparents visited me in Spain and we started this whole son search, we found out that me and Masha are somehow related. I never thought we would be related. That's something really insane. So now when I'm heading to my city, Rostov, I really hope to meet that girl again and to hang out more with her and maybe find out more about my relatives. Maybe there are some that I still don't know about. It became a tradition that I encourage you to guess some of the destinations where I'm going to travel. And as I travel constantly, it's sometimes difficult to guess where I can go. But in the nearest future, I'm going to 3 different places. So if you can guess at least one of them in the comments below, you will receive a postcard from that place. As easy as that. Just try your luck, you never know. Thank you for watching. Please bring more hate. I'm ready for that. I'm a strong person with a very fragile soul, so try to be kinder. Your copycat.